So welcome back to this episode of Home Built Workshop. Today we're going to make a really simple jig and change some joiner knives, so check it out. Lately my joiner hasn't been leaving me with a very smooth surface, so I got some new blades and I need to change them. But I need to make a quick jig so that I can index the blades at the right height. Like a lot of jigs and fixtures that we make in our shops, there are commercial versions available for these. We can make a perfectly acceptable jig using a scrap of wood and some magnets.
I'll start by ripping down this piece of white oak.
Now using a Forstner bit and my drill press, I'm going to drill some 3/4 inch holes just deep enough for my magnets to fit into. I want to make sure that the entire magnet sits a tiny bit below the surface of the wood to make sure that the blade comes in contact with the wood first instead of the magnet. I want to clean up these edges just a little bit. I kind of want to round them off just to make it a little bit more comfortable when you're holding this so you don't have these sharp corners poking you.
I'm going to tape the pieces together so that I can lay them out and make the cuts at the same time.
And I'll use the old roll of masking tape trick to trace out a radius around the top edge.
This chamfer is completely unnecessary, but I wanted to dress up the corners just a little bit.
So now is the time for me to glue these little 3/4 inch rare earth magnets into those holes. These things are super strong. I'm trying to be very careful as I'm handling them because you ever been pinched by a couple of really strong magnets? It hurts. I'll clean up any squeeze out real quick with some acetone. Now over at the joiner, the first step is going to be the most important, and that's to unplug it. Now I'm going to remove the blade guard.
To make sure I don't lose this little screw, I'm going to put it back in place. Now I'm going to loosen up the 4 bolts that hold the blade in place. For my machine, this is done using an 8mm wrench. If you're not sure how your machine comes apart and you don't have the manual, most likely you'll be able to find the instructions online.
So I'm paying attention when I remove this piece. There's a concave part on one side, the other side is flat. The flat side goes against the bottom. I want to remember that. Chips there, there. Yeah.
Now I'll just rotate the cutter head and remove the remaining knives.
Am I the only one that sees a marking knife in there somewhere? Future project? Oh yeah, I think so. I use a little brush to make sure all of the sawdust is out of those grooves. I don't want anything to obstruct the new blades when I put them back in. Hopefully you can see this sawdust that's kind of packed down in there. That's what I'm trying to get out.
Installation is exactly the reverse of removal. I'll put the knife in, followed by the backing plate. Then using a nice flat piece of wood, I need to find top dead center by locating where the knife contacts the piece of wood. Then using my magnet jig, I'll stick it down to the table, and you can see really clearly how the magnet pulls the blade up right in line with the outfeed table. Now all I need to do is make sure the blade stays in place, and I'll tighten those 4 bolts back up, which will secure the blade right where it needs to go. To be completely honest with you guys, this is actually pretty tricky. It's kind of hard to keep the blade at top dead center while you're fighting with the camera and trying to tighten the bolts down all at the same time. It took a fair amount of patience on my part to get this completed.
And there's our first blade. The worst part about this process is you have to do it 3 times. And as soon as that magnet gets over that blade, it sucks that blade right up to it. It works really well. Now I'll do one last check and make sure all the bolts are snug down. I don't want to miss anything here.
Now I can reinstall the safety guard, and we'll make a test cut, which wasn't all that successful.
Well, I don't know if you heard it on that first test cut. Right at the end of the board, there's a little thump. I got a really nasty bit of snipe on the back edge of the board. I think what I need to do is go back through, reset the knives, this time though, without the camera, so that I can just focus directly on getting the knives lined up and I'm not trying to work around the camera. Hopefully that'll make a difference.
And here's take 2.
Well, I don't know if you could tell that time. There was no thump. That edge that I just ran, that is smooth. There is 0 snipe. That is smooth as glass. Let's see if it's square. That's dead on. Cool. I am happy now. Earlier I was pretty frustrated as I was trying to get everything set, and I really think that a lot of that had to do with me trying to work around the camera. Plus it's really cold. My hands are freezing. It probably was a really bad time for me to decide to change those knives. I should have waited for it to be a little bit warmer, but I do need the joiner coming up for a couple of projects and I wanted to get that done. If you're watching videos on YouTube about changing joiner knives, a lot of them don't always show the struggles and the fine tuning that you might have to do. Some of them make it look really simple, and while overall it's not a super difficult task, it does have to be fairly exact, and I believe that is why they sell some of those fairly expensive jigs to get this done. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, leave me a comment and let me know what you thought. Also, let me know how you guys change your knives. Do you use a jig? Do you not use a jig? How do you do it? Let me know. As always, links to places like my website and my social media accounts are in the video description. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. Why is it on every pair of mechanics gloves, this finger is the one that blows out? Great, that's wonderful. It's 4 degrees out and I'm setting joiner knives. Now with those holes drills, I think my hand is actually freezing to this table. That's cold. You know that old tongue on the light post thing? Did you see that? Man, it is freezing. It's freezing. This may have been the worst choice of days to do a project like this. Oh boy. But we got it done. We got it done. I may have lost only 3 or 4 fingers to frostbite. But yeah. No, really I didn't. They're fine. They're very cold, but I'm gonna go inside and warm up now.